living in a world where people care for one another, and the importance of feeling connected that are founded in the earliest years of our lives. Kate Middleton didn't think twice when she hired Edith Turner as a housemaid. She was quiet, kind, and always got the job done, nothing fancy, just someone who kept things running, without ever asking for attention over the years. Edith became a familiar face inside the royal walls, who was never loud, never pushy, just always there. But when Edith passed away, something unexpected happened. Her family found a box under her bed. Inside were letters, papers, and a truth none of them saw coming. As they slowly opened each envelope, they began to cry, not because of the money or surprises inside, but because they realized they never really knew the life she had quietly built behind the palace doors. What did this royal maid hide so carefully that it brought her whole family to tears? To find out, let's get into the video. A quiet invitation. Kate Middleton had hired her quietly years ago. It wasn't until after she passed away that her family uncovered what he had been doing. All this time, and their tears came without warning. The envelope she held was thick and cream-colored, sealed with the royal crest. Edith Turner, a retired housekeeper in her late 60s, gripped it with trembling hands. She had never seen anything like it before. Her name was written in neat blue ink. Every letter perfect. Inside the letter was short but stunned. She had been personally invited to join the Kensington Palace household as a live-in staff member with an immediate start. Preferred. Edith was speechless. She had been through 3 interviews, but had never met the princess herself. Her daughter Jane stared at the letter, eyes wide with disbelief. She questioned why Kate Middleton would pick her mother 2 days later. Edith stood in her quiet bedroom with her suitcase open. She folded each item carefully, then she reached for an old wooden box hidden beneath her wardrobe. She hesitated for a moment, her eyes softened gently. She placed the box in a corner of the suitcase and closed it with a soft click. Minutes later, the taxi pulled away from the curb. Her house faded in the distance, but a new chapter was about to begin. The black car passed through the iron gates of Kensington Palace. Edith sat stiffly in the back seat, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She wore a modest navy skirt, a white blouse, and sensible shoes. Yet nothing could have prepared her for the grandeur before her. The gravel crunched beneath the wheels as the palace towered above stone. History and silence. A butler opened the door and welcomed her, saying, "Her Royal Highness was expecting her." Edith nodded, her heart pounding as she stepped out inside the palace. Felt alive with quiet tradition. Marble floors, gilded frames, tall windows, letting in soft spring light. Servants passed by with polite nods, but spoke little. She was led to a modest room overlooking the garden, much simpler than she expected, but peaceful. The next morning changed everything. Princess Kate appeared in the hallway without any announcement or ceremony. She greeted her with a warm smile. She said she was very glad she had joined. Edith curtsied quickly, still trying to believe this was real. Princess Kate made it clear from the start that she didn't care for formality. She wanted Edith to just be herself. That's why she was there at first. Edith nodded, unsure what that really meant. But as the days passed, she began to understand. She focused on her work, dusting, organizing, handling small tasks with quiet care. She stayed too long or drew attention, yet somehow people noticed her. The other staff sought her advice. Kate would often pause for a quick word or a question that needed her special touch. She never asked for recognition. She didn't need it outside the palace walls. The media buzzed with royal news, scandals. Inside, Edith moved like a gentle, steady presence. Always on time, always calm, always reliable. Every night before bed, Edith sat by her window with a small notebook. She'd write a single page, then close it quietly. No one knew what she wrote, and she never spoke of it. But one night, after setting down her pen, she whispered softly to herself that there was still work to be done. Just before the light clicked off. But as time would show, she was quietly building something much bigger. It wasn't just about dusting shelves or folding towels. Edith was leaving behind something no one expected. Unseen life of Edith. Weeks slipped by, and Edith settled into the rhythm of palace life. She rose early, worked steadily, and never asked questions. The staff grew to rely on her not just for housekeeping but for the calm she brought with her. She had a way of easing tensions without saying much at all. Princess Kate noticed this one evening after a long, exhausting public event. Kate found Edith in the hallway arranging fresh flowers. He remarked quietly that she was always there. She looked up and admitted she supposed she was. Something in her voice made her linger. That night after the others left, Kate joined her in the staff kitchen. Edith made her a cup of tea without any fuss. They sat together at the corner table. Kate confessed she didn't talk like this to many people. Edith didn't respond with words, she simply listened from then on. Their talks became a quiet ritual, sometimes short, sometimes long, always private. Kate sought the maid out after tense meetings or tiring days. Edith might be dusting shelves or folding linens. Always working, always present. One rainy night she asked her a question that caught the maid off guard. Did she have any dreams? Edith paused, holding the edge of a towel midfold. She said that dreams change with age, some are let go, others find you again. Kate didn't push for more and the maid returned to her work, but her hands lingered just a little longer than usual. Later in her room, Edith sat at her small desk. With her notebook open, she wrote carefully, looked up at the window as the rain blurred the glass. She closed her eyes and exhaled slowly as if recalling something far away down the hall. Kate paused outside her study. She glanced toward the quiet wing where Edith slept. She didn't realize it yet, but the maid had already changed the palace ways. No one could see it was a rainy Tuesday morning when everything shifted. Edith slipped on the stone stairs leading to the laundry room, a loose tread, a brief moment of distraction, that was all it took. The staff found her at the bottom, conscious but in pain. Edith refused an ambulance, insisted she was fine, despite the fall. But within the hour, Princess Kate had heard the news. By that afternoon, a private physician arrived at the palace with clear orders that Edith needs a complete rest. Suddenly, Edith was gone from her usual place in the palace. No more folding napkins, no more arranging fresh flowers. Her room stayed just as she left it, untouched. A small vase of tulips sat on her nightstand, wilting quietly. Whispers began to spread among the staff. Some wondered if she had gone home, others guessed she might be in a hospital. A few even questioned if the royals had silenced her. Press caught wind. Quickly, tabloids ran headlines asking where the royal housekeeper had disappeared to, and whether Princess Kate's trusted aide was missing for a reason. The palace responded with a brief, carefully worded statement. Edith was recovering peacefully under full medical supervision. Thanked the public for their kind wishes, but no photos, no interviews, and no sightings ever followed. What she left behind stunned her family. Inside the palace, Kate visited Edith regularly. She never spoke of the maid's absence publicly, but those who noticed her saw a change. Her mornings grew quieter, her walks in the gardens longer, and her eyes carried a distant sadness. One afternoon, Kate's car pulled up to a solicitor's office in London. She went in alone, stayed for over an hour, and left without saying a word. No one knew the reason. Back at the palace, Edith's small notebook remained on her nightstand untouched. The pages fluttered softly in the breeze from an open window, as if waiting. The staff spoke in hushed tones. When they mentioned her, the kitchen felt colder. Her absence left a silence that stretched down every hallway. No one said it out loud, but everyone felt it. Something shifted inside the palace. Princess Kate stood at her office window one evening, staring out over the quiet courtyard, her face marked by a heavy, unfinished thought. Edith Turner passed away just before dawn. There were no media announcements, no dramatic headlines, only a discreet message from the palace. They mourned the quiet passing of their dear Edith, a valued member of the household who had quietly changed the place. More than anyone knew at first, hardly anyone noticed. Then came the funeral, held in a small chapel just outside London. It was supposed to be a simple private event, just family. When the black cars arrived, cameras were already flashing. Princess Kate stepped out, not as a royal figurehead, but as a mourner. She stood quietly beside Edith's family, head bowed, hands clasped tightly. Her daughter Jane gripped the Order of Service, her fingers trembling. The cover read, Edith Turner, A Life of Quiet Grace. As the service began, Kate rose to speak. She spoke of Edith's dignity, her kindness. What you do is inspirational. It is a shining of example of the support and the care, and how she always listened without judgment. She said the maid gave more than anyone could have known. She added that she would be deeply missed, not just because she worked for the family, but because she stood by them. Her voice broke slightly and the chapel grew still outside. Reporters were stunned. Photos of the service spread quickly. Princess Kate's secret confidant, the maid, was being honored like royalty. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know who was Edith Turner. After the funeral, Jane returned to her mother's flat to gather Edith's things. The place was spotless, everything folded, labeled, and quietly prepared, as if Edith had known this day would come. While sorting through a drawer, Jane stopped at the back of the wardrobe. Wrapped in an old scarf, she found a wooden box. On its underside, taped carefully, was a small brass key. She stared at it for a long moment. That night, Jane sat at her small dining table with the locked box before her. She turned the key once, then twice. It clicked open. Inside top lay a folded envelope in her mother's handwriting. It was marked, "For my family when I'm gone." Jane's breath caught. Far across the city in Kensington Palace, Princess Kate placed a single white rose on her windowsill. The world had questions, but the answers were waiting. The wooden box wasn't large, but it felt heavy in Jane's hands. Inside, neat bundles of paper were tied with twine. A soft scent of lavender rose as she lifted the lid. Fully, the first bundle was a collection of letters. Dozens of them, each was carefully written, and every envelope was sealed with a crest. Jane recognized instantly the letters from Kensington. Jane pulled the first letter from the box. The envelope was sealed with the crest of Kensington Palace, crisp and official. The letter inside was dated more than 5 years earlier. It began simply, "Dear Edith." The handwriting was unmistakably Princess Kate's. She thanked Edith for her quiet advice, saying it had anchored her more than she could know. Jane's eyes widened as she absorbed the words. She reached for another letter. This one spoke of magic, not the kind you see in stories, but the kind Edith brought into the palace every day. Princess Kate admitted she had stopped believing in magic until she saw her move through the house with grace, kindness, and a strength no one noticed. She thanked her for reminding her that it still existed. Each letter carried the same gentle tone: deep gratitude, quiet respect, and heartfelt admiration. From a princess to a maid, there was no hint of superiority, only warmth. Beneath the stack of letters, Jane found official documents. Her hands trembled as she flipped through them. There were records of financial transfers, legal agreements, and papers stamped with the seal of a royal charity. As she read further, the truth became clear. Princess Kate had not just offered kind words, she had made Edith a real partner in a private royal trust. The trust funded educational scholarships, children's hospitals, and orphanages. Edith was not only a recipient, but also a silent partner, with shares that had quietly grown over the years. Was staggering £7 million. On top of the papers lay a handwritten letter from Kate. She wrote that Edith had restored her faith in ordinary magic. She never wanted riches, only to serve, but she believed her kind of service deserved to leave a lasting mark beyond palace walls and time. She trusted her to decide what to do with the gift. Tears filled Jane's eyes. She reached deeper into the box and found one last envelope marked in her mother's handwriting. For Jane's children. After the funeral, Jane passed the envelope to her teenage daughter, Amelia, who held it nervously. They waited until evening, gathering with family, before Amelia broke the seal and unfolded the thick parchment. The message was brief, powerful. Edith believed in quiet acts of good, small, unnoticed moments. that could change the world in ways no one sees. Jane and Amelia looked at each other, understanding that Edith's legacy wasn't just in money or letters, but in the kindness and strength she quietly shared with everyone around her. The letter began with a simple but powerful message from Edith. With Princess Kate's help, she had arranged a gift for her family: full scholarships for university, wherever their dreams might take them. The rest of the money would support children without families of their own. Love. She wrote, "Continue to be loud. It just needed to last." She urged them to live well and be kind, signing off with all her love. The room fell silent. No one spoke. Jane looked at her husband, noticing his red eyes. Her youngest son clutched the box tightly as if afraid it might disappear. Jane was the first to cry. Others soon followed. Not because of the money, but because they had never known this part of Edith. She had never hinted at the life she quietly built, or the trust Princess Kate had placed in her. They cried for the years she had ironed their clothes and wiped their noses, never revealing the royal letters tucked away beneath her bed. They cried because a love so quiet is rare, but the loss wasn't only felt in her home. Quietly behind palace walls, someone else was grieving too. Someone who had watched Edith's kindness unfold in real time, day after day. Memories in Kensington Palace. Meanwhile, Princess Kate sat alone in her study. The sunlight filtered softly through the tall windows, casting a warm glow over the room. On her desk sat a small photograph of Edith, taken years ago in the palace gardens. On his desk sat a small photograph of Edith, taken years earlier. She held a rake in one hand and a cup of tea in the other, smiling gently at someone just out of frame. She leaned back in her chair, eyes drifting to the garden beyond the window. A breeze rustled the hedges, and somewhere in the distance, the sound of a child's laughter floated through the air. She smiled faintly, knowing Edith's story wasn't over. Soon the world would learn what a maid, a mother, and a quiet heart could truly leave behind. She didn't show the photo often, but once, when a friend noticed it during a visit, she simply said that she reminded her of the best in people. When Kate walked the palace halls, passing the spots where Edith once stood, arranging flowers or folding blankets, she sometimes paused briefly, just for a moment, a quiet nod to someone who left her mark without ever asking for credit. Edith Turner was much more than just a maid behind the letters and money she quietly received. There was a side of her that few people really saw, a side that showed how strong and kind she truly was. Edith didn't just clean rooms or arrange flowers. She was the quiet support that helped keep the palace calm and balanced. The people who worked with her often said she could tell when something was wrong without anyone having to say a word. She noticed small changes, like a shaky hand, a deep sigh, or a look that lasted too long. Both the palace workers and even members of the royal family felt they could trust Edith. She listened without judging, and gave people space when they needed it. In a place like Kensington Palace, where everything is formal and people often keep secrets, Edith was a safe place. She didn't try to fix problems with big actions or advice. She simply cared, and made others feel a little better when things got stressful or emotions ran high. Edith's calm presence helped ease tension. She knew what it was like to live under constant watch and pressure. What she offered was what many needed, but couldn't ask for: quiet kindness. Her kindness didn't need to be loud or showy. It came from small acts, making a cup of tea and leaving it where someone would find it, offering a soft smile at the right time, or just being nearby, so no one felt alone in a world full of rules and ceremonies. Edith was the calm heart that kept things steady. Edith's story shows us that the people who really change lives don't always get noticed. Many who make a difference do it quietly without thanks or attention. Edith never told anyone about the letters from Princess Kate, or the money she gave her. She lived with humility and cared most about helping others. Her family only learned about all this after she died. The letters, the papers, and the money were part of the story, but what mattered most was the kindness Edith showed every day. Her family saw that she was part of something much bigger than her daily chores. She had touched many lives, giving comfort, hope, and strength in small but important ways. This kind of impact is rare. and special. It reminds us that serving others isn't about doing big things, but about the heart behind what we do. Edith's generosity wasn't just about money, it was in how she made people feel, seen and cared for. She listened without judging, made room for sadness and gave kindness without expecting anything back. Even Princess Kate, a woman with many duties and pressures, found comfort in Edith's presence. The photo she kept on her desk showed her smiling softly in the palace gardens, holding a rake in one hand and a cup of tea in the other. It was a simple picture but showed who she really was, a humble person quietly making the palace a better place. People who worked in the palace still remember her. When Princess Kate walked past places where Edith used to work, she sometimes stopped for a moment, quietly honoring someone who left a mark without asking for thanks. When Edith was gone, the palace felt quieter and emptier. The staff whispered softly, not to gossip, but because they missed someone who was steady and kind for all the grandness of royal life. It was Edith's quiet goodness that many loved most. The world remembered Edith for what she gave, but those who truly knew her saw something deeper: her stillness, her decency, and her ability to make people feel seen without saying much at all. She never raised her voice or sought attention. She simply served. When she died, her family cried, not because she was gone but because she had never asked for the recognition the world would one day give her. Not every hero wears a crown. Some aprons, carry notebooks, and leave behind quiet traces of love that outlast time. Edith didn't need attention to make an impact. She simply showed up, cared deeply, and lived with quiet purpose. And in the end, that was more powerful than any title. Her story reminds us that kindness doesn't need audience, and real love is often silent. Have you ever known someone who quietly made a difference in the lives of those around them? Feel free to share your story.